For centuries, the Jewish people yearned for a return to Zion, a symbolic name for Jerusalem and the land of Israel. This longing was not just a fleeting desire, but a deep-seated aspiration that spanned generations and was passed down through families and communities. Scattered across the globe, often facing persecution and displacement, they held on to the dream of a homeland. This dream was a source of hope and resilience, a beacon that guided them through centuries of adversity and hardship. This longing found expression in religious texts, poetry, and cultural memory. The prayers recited in synagogues, the poems written by Jewish poets, and the stories told by elders all echoed the same yearning for a return to Zion. By the late 19th century, this dream began to take a more concrete form in the movement known as Zionism. Zionism was not just a political movement, it was a cultural and spiritual revival that sought to reconnect the Jewish people with their ancestral homeland. The Zionist movement, emerging in response to rising anti-Semitism in Europe, advocated for the establishment of a Jewish state in Palestine. The increasing hostility and violence against Jews in Europe made the need for a safe haven more urgent than ever. Theodor Herzl, a Jewish journalist from Vienna, is considered the father of modern political Zionism. Herzl's vision was revolutionary. He believed that the Jewish people could only secure their future through the establishment of their own state. His book, The Jewish State, published in 1896, argued that the only solution to the Jewish question was the creation of a Jewish state. Herzl's writings inspired many and laid the intellectual foundation for the Zionist movement. Herzl's ideas resonated with many Jews who saw Palestine as their ancestral homeland. The vision of returning to Zion was no longer a distant dream, but a tangible goal that could be achieved through collective effort. The movement gained momentum, attracting followers from across the Jewish world. Zionist congresses were held, and plans were made to facilitate Jewish immigration to Palestine. Jewish communities in Europe, facing increasing persecution and discrimination, began to see Palestine as a beacon of hope and a potential refuge. The promise of a homeland where they could live in safety and dignity was a powerful motivator. Thus began the long and complex journey of Jewish immigration to Palestine, a journey marked by hope and hardship, triumph and tragedy. The early settlers faced numerous challenges, from harsh living conditions to political opposition, but their determination never wavered. It is a story that continues to shape the Middle East today, a story of dreams realized and conflicts unresolved. The legacy of Zionism and the quest for a Jewish homeland remains central to the region's history and its future. The first significant wave of Jewish immigration to Palestine, known as the First Aliyah, began in 1882. Driven by a surge of anti-Jewish violence in the Russian Empire, thousands of Jews sought refuge in Palestine, then a province of the Ottoman Empire. These early pioneers, driven by a mixture of idealism and desperation, faced immense challenges. Palestine at the time was a largely agrarian society with limited infrastructure and resources. The land, often neglected for centuries, needed extensive cultivation to become productive. The Ottoman authorities, while not overtly hostile, viewed the influx of Jews with suspicion. Despite these obstacles, the newcomers were determined to rebuild their ancient homeland. They established agricultural communities known as kibbutzim and moshavim, based on collective and cooperative principles. They revived Hebrew as a spoken language, a powerful symbol of their cultural revival. They laid the groundwork for a modern Jewish society in Palestine. The first Aliyah was relatively small in scale, but it planted the seeds for the future. It demonstrated the determination of the Zionist movement and the growing appeal of a Jewish homeland. It also marked the beginning of a demographic shift in Palestine, a shift that would have profound implications in the decades to come. World War I dramatically altered the political landscape of the Middle East. The Ottoman Empire, allied with Germany, faced defeat and dissolution. Great Britain, emerging victorious, gained control over Palestine. It was in this context that the Balfour Declaration, a document of immense historical significance, was issued in 1917. The Declaration, a letter from British Foreign Secretary Arthur Balfour to Lord Rothschild, a leader of the British Jewish community, expressed support for the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people. This seemingly simple statement had far-reaching consequences, igniting both hope and controversy. For the Zionist movement, the Balfour Declaration was a major diplomatic victory. It represented recognition by a major world power of their aspirations for a Jewish state. It encouraged further Jewish immigration to Palestine, now under British administration. However, the declaration also contained ambiguities that would fuel future conflicts. It did not specify what form a national home would take, leaving it open to interpretation. It also emphasized the need to safeguard the civil and religious rights of existing non-Jewish communities in Palestine, without mentioning their political rights. This omission would have profound consequences, laying the groundwork for the Arab-Israeli conflict. Section 4. Between the wars, rising tensions, and the shadow of Nazism. The period between the two world wars witnessed a significant increase in Jewish immigration to Palestine, fueled by a combination of factors. The aftermath of World War I left many Jewish communities in Eastern Europe in dire straits, facing economic hardship and social instability. The promise of a new beginning in Palestine, a land with historical and spiritual significance, became a beacon of hope for many. The Balfour Declaration, despite its ambiguities, encouraged Jewish aspirations for a homeland. It was a significant political statement that gave many Jews the hope that their dream of a national home could become a reality. This declaration, issued by the British government in 1917, was seen as a green light for Jewish immigration and settlement in Palestine. Economic hardship in Eastern Europe and the rise of anti-Semitism, particularly in Poland, pushed many Jews to seek a new life in Palestine. The increasing hostility and violence against Jewish communities made the prospect of staying in Europe untenable for many. Families sold their possessions, left their homes, and embarked on perilous journeys to reach the shores of Palestine. This wave of immigration, known as the Third Aliyah, transformed the social and economic landscape of Palestine. The new arrivals were often young, idealistic, and determined to build a new society. They established agricultural settlements known as kibbutzim and worked tirelessly to cultivate the land. Jewish immigrants established new settlements, developed industries, and contributed to the growth of urban centers like Tel Aviv. The city of Tel Aviv, founded in 1909, rapidly expanded during this period, becoming a hub of economic and cultural activity. The industrious spirit of the immigrants played a crucial role in the development of these urban areas. Hebrew flourished as a language of daily life, and a vibrant cultural scene emerged. The revival of Hebrew was not just a linguistic achievement, but also a cultural renaissance. Theaters, newspapers, and schools all contributed to a rich and dynamic Jewish cultural life in Palestine. However, this period also saw rising tensions between the growing Jewish community and the Arab population of Palestine. The rapid changes brought about by Jewish immigration and settlement created friction with the Arab inhabitants, who felt increasingly marginalized and threatened by the demographic shifts. The Arabs, who constituted the majority, viewed Jewish immigration with increasing alarm. They were concerned about the loss of their land, the erosion of their cultural identity, and the potential for political disenfranchisement. Arab leaders voiced their opposition through petitions, protests, and sometimes violent resistance. They feared being displaced from their land and losing their political and economic rights. The land issue was particularly contentious, as many Arab farmers worried that they would be evicted from their ancestral lands to make way for new Jewish settlements. The British authorities, caught between their commitments to both Jews and Arabs, struggled to maintain order. The British mandate in Palestine was marked by a series of conflicting promises and policies, leading to a complex and often contradictory approach to governance. Arab protests and riots, sometimes met with violence, erupted periodically. These uprisings were a manifestation of the deep-seated grievances and frustrations of the Arab population. The British response often involved military intervention, which further exacerbated tensions. The situation grew increasingly volatile, foreshadowing the conflicts to come. The interwar period set the stage for the larger and more violent confrontations that would erupt in the following decades, as both communities vied for control and recognition. Moreover, the rise of Nazism in Germany cast a long shadow over Europe, adding a sense of urgency to the plight of Jews seeking refuge. The increasing persecution of Jews under the Nazi regime made the quest for a safe haven even more desperate, driving more Jews to look towards Palestine as a potential sanctuary. Section 5: Exodus and Resistance, the quest for refuge in a time of war. The outbreak of World War II in 1939 marked a turning point in the story of Jewish immigration to Palestine. As the war engulfed Europe, the Jewish community faced unprecedented persecution and violence, leading to a desperate search for safety and refuge. With the horrors of the Holocaust unfolding in Europe, the need for a Jewish homeland became more desperate than ever. The systematic extermination of 6 million Jews by the Nazi regime underscored the urgent necessity for a safe haven where Jews could live free from fear and oppression. Jews facing extermination in Nazi-occupied Europe sought desperately to escape, with Palestine as a beacon of hope. The land of their ancestors represented not just a physical refuge, but a symbol of survival and continuity for the Jewish people. However, Britain, fearing Arab unrest and seeking to maintain its strategic interests in the region, imposed strict limitations on Jewish immigration to Palestine. These restrictions were part of a broader policy to balance competing interests in the volatile Middle East. These restrictions, enacted through the White Paper of 1939, came at a time when Jews were most in need of refuge. The White Paper severely limited the number of Jews allowed to enter Palestine, leaving many stranded in Europe with nowhere to turn. Despite these obstacles, Jewish organizations organized clandestine operations to bring refugees to Palestine, often by sea. These secret missions were fraught with peril, as they had to evade British patrols and navigate treacherous waters. These voyages, fraught with danger and uncertainty, became a symbol of Jewish resilience and desperation. The determination of these refugees to reach Palestine, despite the risks, highlighted their unwavering hope and courage. Many ships were intercepted by the British Navy and their passengers turned back or interned in camps, fueling outrage and resistance. The British actions were seen as a betrayal by many Jews and their supporters, further intensifying the struggle for a Jewish homeland. The struggle for Jewish immigration during this period became intertwined with the struggle for Jewish statehood. The Zionist movement, which advocated for the establishment of a Jewish state in Palestine, gained momentum as the plight of Jewish refugees became more widely known. The horrors of the Holocaust strengthened the resolve of the Zionist movement and garnered international sympathy for the plight of the Jewish people. The world began to recognize the necessity of a Jewish state as a means of ensuring that such atrocities would never happen again. It also highlighted the urgent need for a safe and independent Jewish homeland. The establishment of Israel in 1948 marked the culmination of this quest, providing a sanctuary for Jews worldwide and a testament to their enduring spirit and resilience.